Hey guys, okay, in Cuba, it's gonna be crazy over there right now. Cuba's going through a lot of changes, man. I didn't know it was gonna get this bad over there in Cuba, but we see that definitely there's some changes. The president was, the Cuban's president was speaking all that big, wolfing that big lot of talk, but hey, 11 million people without power, that's crazy on the island, and all they can do is get worse. There's no gas. There's no mess with the infrastructure now. The people are rebelling against the communist uh, leaders, and they're going into different districts, different towns. It's getting serious over there, man. People aren't gonna take that so far. And we're gonna get back in spring and summer coming. It's gonna be hot over them. Man, they're going with their fans and all this. They ain't got no lights at night. People cooking. It's gonna be a struggle. It's Can you imagine people who are living like that right now? There's no 7-Elevens. There's no, you know what I mean? There's no chick sticks and all this. Hey, hey. It's going to be a lot of torment over there. And we're seeing it right now. We're seeing the fires they're creating. The people are rebelling. And they want, so now they're trying to negotiate with the President of the United States and trying to show, it's hard when you've been allowed to be filibuster and think you're something that you're not. I think you're a national sovereign nation, and you can't control your own future. You are what you are. You're a floating island. Cuba's a beautiful island country, but it's not really sovereign like they think it is because they're in cahoots with other countries to keep them afloat. If them countries just pull away, you you can't afford. You know what I mean? It's just a floating island. So without further ado, let's hear what this reporter had to say that was in Cuba. You know, it's real out there.
The entire island of Cuba is in a blackout at the moment. It's the first time this has taken place since the Trump administration placed a total oil embargo on this island. And the concern is, although we've had island-wide blackouts in the past, is whether or not Cuba can get the power back on. What happens typically when you have a blackout in a province or in part of this island, they were able to essentially jumpstart those electrical grids using other electrical grids where they've not lost power. When you have an island-wide blackout like this, 10 million people in the dark at this moment, it gets much harder to do that. And on top of this, you have no oil coming into this island for the last 3 months, ever since the Trump administration began this pressure campaign trying to get Cuba to open up economically and politically. You're also dealing with a failing infrastructure, and an infrastructure the Cuban government has not invested in years, despite the fact that power outages have become more and more common. So already over the last few days, we were seeing blackouts that sometimes could last most of the day, an entire day. In one small town in eastern Cuba, people actually rose.
Yeah, we're seeing like this problem right now is happening in Cuba. Like I said, the infrastructure, the economy, and you got a president that's trying to work with your economy. Yeah, you want to win, but if you don't have nothing to stand on, you got to go with the bigger unit. And now you're down. You're actually starting to feel what you really are. Like the oil, Venezuela oil, that was blocked off. The barcade over there. Now you can't get none oil from them. Then Iran, where the U.S. was at war with Iran right now, conflict with Iran. So there's no oil coming there. Then you get the president of Venezuela has been taken away of. Then you like, okay, we don't really have to have none with Cuba. And then the problem with Cuba is you got to understand Venezuela, the Cuban president was sending soldiers over there. We got to fight. Really, we got to fight with some of the Cuban people. We're not happy. We got the soldiers that got shot up down there on a plane, and now we got people back here. You think we happy? We they said they so-called Venezuela, but the reality was there was Cuban soldiers, they're working down there in Venezuela for the Maduro regime. So that's been revealed. So now that relationship has been affected. You think we're gonna be doing it as a nation? You think we're gonna be doing good deeds with your nation? No, and we're trying to form an alliance with you to give you economic might, but you don't dictate nothing. You have no power, no position, no nothing. Stay in your lane. How you say this? in the cities of America, stay in your lane. And we're bringing some, and you're going to thumb your nose up at the U.S. So you expect this nation to cater to you. Now we're showing you, now your infrastructure, your grids, your electrical grids are off. Things are getting tore back. Now your economy is slammed. And we were trying to do some economic development there with your nation. We show you countries pull their people out of the tourists out of there. Now your tourists is down. Now it's just an island of what you call yourself Cubans. Now take care of yourself. You can't. So now you're trying to negotiate with the president of the United States now. Now you're trying to appeal. No. Now we're in a position you took it this far. The president don't really have to appeal, but being a benevolent president, he's trying to work with you as a nation now, trying to help you out. It's a beautiful island, but you have to get to this position to show who you really are in the greater scheme of sovereign nations around the world. You don't have a position. You was just like several other nations that went up against big mighty countries like China and Russia and Japan, and they showed them underlings who they really were. And that's the reality. And this was Cuba that's finding out. And now they're just trying to blame the United States of America. Is there pressure? Yes. Is there reason for that? Yes. Is there conflict between the U.S. and Cuba? Yes. In that situation, when you're so small that this nation can navigate around you and control your whole island, and now you're seeing it. Now the president of Cuba is coming to America, begging for support and begging for economic relief and all these other things that he needs for his people. And America don't want to see no country like that suffer. But you had to be brought down some notches to understand your position in the greater scheme of things in the world of nations. And you was thumbing your finger up to one of the most mightiest nations on the planet Earth at this time in history, and time immemorial. And now you're back at trying to be at the office. The president said he could do what he wanted to do. It's up to him now. So you put yourself in a position to be thought of as just an island, and that's where we're like other islands. So now he said do whatever we want to do, Cuba. Now you understand the power of a nation state, the military. I'm sad to say that's really what it is, and this is the reality. So let's find out what the rest of this content is about. React to the rest of this.
Up and attacked the Communist Party headquarters. That's obviously something the Cuban government does not put up with here. And so people were arrested, people have been threatened for going out into the street and banging pots and pans, calling on their government to turn back on power. The government here blames the U.S., blames the Trump administration, but has said in recent days that they're willing to negotiate an end to this crisis. It's not clear if they have time to at the moment because the situation here gets worse and worse by the day. And increasingly, when you talk to Cubans, they say they feel they have nothing left to lose. The entire
See? And that's the reality. That's the reality of Cuba. They feel like they had nothing to lose. The government, the government is not negotiating, and the president do not want to see a nation of tens of millions of people suffer like this. But you understand when it's sovereignty against sovereignty, nation against nation, these are the things that come about, you know. And I'm sad the Cuban people are going through this, but this when your government's pride get in the way and not knowing, counting the cost of its real leverage in. I'm trying to get you to see it at the macro level of governments. And when the government's coming in and saying you don't have that power to claim this, and you think you do, and then the government shows you through different institution of their networks to show you that you don't have that power at all, and then they got to put funding and money behind that. It's not that easy. So now you're in a different position. When one time you was in a position to negotiate with America, now you're not in a position to go negotiate with the United States of America. You're in a position of what you can receive from America if America chooses to negotiate with you on a national level, an international level. So these are the things that I think some nations must be observant when they in a position of power and they think they're more than what they are. Um, the Cuban people understand this. I listened to some other videos and I read to some other videos, and the Cuban people understand. You, we not, we have pride, but we're not in a position to do it. And now that every day it's getting worse and worse, and now we got to go make the government go against the government. Um, if the government regime in Cuba want to stay in power, they better do what the will of the people want on an island of Cuba, because it's getting bad. So, but now that you're not in a position of power to get anything, you're you're in a position just to be able to make a deal to get your grid checked back on, to get the basic infrastructure before it totally collapsed, to get oil coming back, and now you're making deals that now you at a different position, but now you ain't even in that position. So there's a lot of things that Cuba got to look up, and you got to be honest to the Cuban people. If we deal with America, this is what you're going to lose. Now you're in a position of what you're going to lose. We're going to be in control of many things over there on the island now, because we have nothing to benefit. You don't offer us nothing. So this is the state that Cuba's in right now. The Cuban government is in. They got to make deals that doesn't look ideal for the Cuban people. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's the reality that they put themselves in. The Cuban government put themselves in, and now we're seeing the results of that. And they have to make a deal. They have to make a deal if there's a deal possible. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. I'd like to hear what you got to say. Have a wonderful day.